All right, let's dive into today's explainer, where we are going to completely demystify social anxiety. Seriously, we're going to take that terrifying, paralyzing hurdle of talking to strangers and turn it into a winnable, highly structured game. So, if you've ever felt your heart practically pounding out of your chest just at the thought of asking for directions, well, you're exactly in the right place. We've got a really clear roadmap for this. We'll start with the root of social anxiety, move on to the 100 interaction challenge, talk about mastering bulletproof conversations, and finish up with the 3-2-1 countdown trick. Okay, part one, the root of social anxiety, unlearning fear. So to actually conquer social anxiety, we first have to reframe what it really is. It is so easy to think of social awkwardness as this personality flaw or some fixed trait you're just stuck with, but fundamentally, these feelings are just forms of fear. And get this, psychological realization. Since we are only born with two innate fears, literally just the fear of falling down and the fear of loud noises, every single other fear you have is completely learned. Think about it. You weren't born terrified of making small talk at a coffee shop, and because it's completely learned, it is absolutely unlearnable. Now, a lot of our learned fears are actually nurtured to keep us safe, right? You fear falling from a plane or stepping near a growling animal because those things can literally end your life. But social anxiety is a learned fear of confrontation and awkwardness. Unlike a wild animal, the fear of talking to someone won't kill you. Your brain is essentially just artificially inflating the danger of a completely non-lethal situation. It's tricking you into a full-blown fight or flight response over a simple hello. And this idea brilliantly illustrates the exposure therapy metaphor. Look, fear is incredibly predictable. If you run away from the social interaction you're afraid of, well, the next time you face it, that fear just becomes bigger. You're basically reinforcing your brain's false alarm. But if you stand your ground and actually face the fear, the next time you confront it, it naturally shrinks. You literally prove to your brain that, hey, you survived. Moving right along to part two, the 100 interaction challenge, controlled exposure. Now that we know facing the fear is literally the only way to shrink it, how do we actually do that without getting completely overwhelmed? Well, enter the challenge. The absolute most effective way to combat this anxiety is to challenge yourself to interact with exactly 100 strangers within a single month. I know, it sounds like a lot, but this high volume is the secret sauce. It forces you to confront your fear over and over again until your brain finally realizes, oh wait, there's no actual danger here. But here is the absolutely crucial point. Please do not let the word interact freak you out. You really don't need mind-blowing, deep, 2-hour conversations about the meaning of life to make this work. You don't need to suddenly be this overwhelmingly charismatic person. You just need simple, brief exposure to decrease the fear. Honestly, a 10-second exchange counts perfectly as one of your 100 interactions. You can also customize this challenge to fit your specific hurdles. If you deal with general anxiety, just talk to 100 random strangers. But if your main issue is specifically, say, talking to girls, then tweak the challenge. Make your target group 100 girls. By doing this, you're leaning on the law of averages. The more you do it, the better you get at reading body language, picking up on microsocial cues, and naturally boosting your confidence in those exact targeted situations. Now, what's absolutely fascinating is the timeline of this challenge. For the first few dozen people, like interactions 1 through 34, it's going to feel like a terrifying chore. It just is. But right around the 35th person, this massive psychological shift happens. It is incredible. The fear transforms almost completely. You suddenly realize nothing bad is happening, all that artificial danger just vanishes, and the whole challenge actually starts to feel like a fun video game where you're just out there racking up points. All right, let's jump into part 3, mastering bulletproof conversations. But let's be real for a second. How on earth do you start those first 34 interactions if you are completely paralyzed by the thought, what if they think I'm weird and don't want to talk to me? Right? That right there is the biggest mental block. The answer is what we call bulletproof conversations. These are basically your armor. They absolutely demolish the fear of awkwardness because, let's face it, nobody is going to yell at you for asking a simple, mundane, socially acceptable question. You get the exposure of speaking to someone without sticking your neck out or risking any real rejection. So here is your exact script. Just memorize a few of these specific low-stakes examples. You can start with the absolute basics, like just casually asking, hey, what's the time? Or maybe asking for directions. Once you're kind of getting the hang of it, ask for a restaurant recommendation, or get a little playful and ask them to rate your new shoes on a scale of 1 to 10. You can even just ask about pop culture, like, are you going to see the new Robert Downey Jr. movie? Or bring up some crazy news story about a kid falling into a gorilla cage at the zoo. These guarantee safe, easy, and super fast exposure. Then, once you complete the 100 interactions with those bulletproof lines, you might want to repeat the challenge to completely crush your anxiety once and for all. This time, take off the training wheels. Upgrade to a slightly more ballsy line, like simply, "Hey, how's your day going?" But the absolute trick to pulling this off, you've got to deliver it with a big, genuine smile. That invites a real conversation, rather than just asking for a passing piece of information.
Which brings us to part 4, the 3-2-1 countdown trick, killing hesitation.
So you have your goal, and you have your script. Now we need to address the final boss of social anxiety, that paralyzing hesitation right before you actually open your mouth to speak. Because in those final seconds, your own brain is your absolute worst enemy. Time literally equals negativity here. The exact moment you allow your brain time to think, it starts spouting excuses, it artificially inflates the danger, tells you they look busy, tells you you're going to sound stupid, and basically begs you to back out. So we have to cut off the brain's runway. And that is exactly where the 3-2-1 trick comes in. Step 1, spot the person you want to talk to. Step 2, instantly start counting down silently in your head. 3, 2, 1. Step 3, the absolute second you hit 1, your legs move and your mouth opens. No exceptions. This mental hack works flawlessly because it short-circuits your brain's ability to generate excuses. It literally forces you into action before the fear even has time to build. And let me tell you exactly what happens the moment you finish that first interaction. You are going to experience 3 things, almost simultaneously. First, a small rush of adrenaline from facing down that artificial danger. Second, a massive wave of victorious relief that the conversation is over and hey, you survived. And finally, a profound, undeniable sense of accomplishment because you realize you are one massive step closer to conquering your fear and reclaiming your social freedom. So, the tools are on the table. The fear is learned, which means you have the absolute power to unlearn it. Use the 3-2-1 trick today with a bulletproof starter. Who are you going to talk to today? And more importantly, once you prove to your brain that the fear is a total lie, what else in your life will you finally be fearless enough to conquer? Your 100 Interaction Challenge starts right now.